equals 40 plus 20 times the start angle minus 15 times the vertical pin minus 10 times the hook pin, whatever left. Anything that has a p-value less than 0.05 is statistically significant. Okay? So, boom. And then I'll probably say, what angle would you set? If you're gonna set the vertical pin to 2 and the hook pin to 5, where would you hit the start angle to hit, I don't know, 50 inches or whatever the question is. And then you have to calculate that. Guaranteed that's on the test. Yes?
Could you go over CP and CPK again?
Yes. Everyone got this? So CP, man, this one is about So this just looks at the ratio of your voice of the customer divided by the voice of the process. Okay? Has nothing to do with centering, anything else, just looks at that ratio. And you want that ratio to be greater than 1. If it's greater than 1, this is larger than this. 6 times the standard deviation of my process gives me, you know, if you look at a normal distribution, right? Plus or minus 3 standard deviation from me is 99.7% of my distribution. So 6 standard deviations gives me just about 99.7% of what I can expect for my measurement system. So this is the voice of the process. This is your tolerance, your upper spec, that's defined by your customer. This is the voice of the customer. Look at that ratio. Has nothing to do with the process is centered. You can look at something like this. And there's my distribution. My CP is high. I mean, my CP, how many times can this fit in here? Probably about 3 times, maybe more. So my CP might be 3 or 4, but I'm still making 100% junk. It's all defect, okay? Because I'm outside my specification limits. So hence the need for CPK. All right? And in the end of the semester, nothing works anymore. Shit, wrong. Okay, so now I'm just going to take the minimum, whichever one's smaller. And since the denominator of both these are the same, it's whatever X bar is closest to is going to be the smallest value, right? So in here, it's closer to my upper spec, so I'm going to look at this one. Right, so upper spec limit minus X bar, and if this is my X bar here, okay? So my X bar is going to be low. So this is going to be a negative value. Okay, a negative value, and then divided by 3s. So if your CPK is negative, it's saying your mean is outside your specification. It's either lower than your lower spec or greater than your upper spec. Okay? If CPK equals CP, that's the max it could ever be. Okay? CPK, the maximum CPK can be a CP. Can't get any higher than that. And And if they're exactly the same, that means your process is perfectly centered. So if your process is less than CP, but still positive, then it's, the mean is somewhere in here. You know, my mean might be right here. And something looks like this, okay? That way, CPK is less than CP, but still greater than 0. So this one looks at centering. This one just looks at the ratio of the spread. This is the spread when compared to your customers. So has to do with spread, this has to do with centering. If CP, you want CP to be greater than 1, that means if it's equal to 1, these two are the same. My upper spec and lower spec is the same as 6 times. You know, that's no room for error there, right? And over time, your process is going to shift a little bit. So, not good. So you want it higher and higher. If this is 2, then your sigma level is 3. Excuse me, your sigma level is 6. Approximately 3 times your CP. Enough? So CPK can never be, CP can never be negative because it's just a ratio of 2 positive numbers, right? Cannot be negative. CP cannot be negative. CPK can be, but CPK cannot be greater than CP, all right? Now, what do you have? Because these are great manufacturing processes where you typically have an upper and lower spec. But what do you have if you have one-sided spec? You don't have a lower spec. You say, hey, this process needs to be completed in 30 days. This report needs to be out in 30 days. Then what do you have? What's your CP? CP is undefined. It's not defined. You don't have two specs. So CP is undefined, and all you're left with is a CPK. That's all you need. So you can have something that just says a CPK, no CP, because you only have a one-sided spec. Happens a lot in transactional processes. Okay? All right, the report's due at 5 p.m. What's the distribution of people submitting their reports? Okay? Any others? Yes?
For the questions about the catapult project, do you want us to know?
Questions? Or
Questions, yeah. You would want us to know like all the things that were in the define phase and the measure phase, and then
yes.
how we would use them and what they mean.
Not necessarily how, but it means the order in which we use tools. There'll be a matching one. Put this was first, this is second, this is third.
About like the process itself? Or just like,
Well, yeah.
when did you make this chart?
No, when did we use this tool in the domain methodology, in the catalog? So you'll need to know that order. And I've been harping on that since the first day we did this. Yes?
Just really quickly, we were talking over like bias, stability, and then
Bias, stability, and linearity. So a bias is there a difference between all the measurements that, the measurements that you took, the mean of the measurements that you took, and the actual true mean? Okay, so let's say, we used to do this when I worked at Corning. We used to calibrate this piece of equipment every day. And this was 5.0000 inches, this block here. Okay, down to 10 thousandths of an inch, this was exactly 5 inches. because this machine could measure to 2/10,000ths of an inch. That was its resolution. And so every day you calibrated it. So let's say you took 5 measurements and the mean was that. Then you know that there is a 21/10,000ths of a bias in that. You would calibrate the machine and adjust for that. Okay, so that's a bias. Now, stability, think of stability over time. So we calibrated it every day, so if the bias changes over time, that's a stability issue. Okay, if your bias changes over time, that's a stability issue. A linearity issue is if your bias changes over the operating range of the gauge. So if my bias is, let's say my gauge measures between 0 and 100 PSI. But at 0, it has no bias. At 50 PSI, it has 1 PSI bias, and at 100, it has 1.5 PSI as a bias. Then there's a linearity issue with that gauge. All right? Now know the difference between, because that was on the first test, and it will be on the final too. I remember on the first test, this was like 1.001 inches, and this is 0.998 inches or something like that. And so, know the difference if I measure twice, if operator A measures twice here and once here, and operator B measures once here and twice here, okay? Where's that gonna show up in the gauge R&R? Repeatability, reproducibility, or both? Both. Both. All you gotta do is look at the average for A. So I don't care what numbers here, make your own numbers up, make the math is easy. Say this is 10 inches and this is 1 inch. I don't care, it doesn't matter. They're different, that's all you need to know, they're different. This just makes the math a lot easier. So if I look at the average of A, it's gonna be 21 divided by 3 or 7. All right? If I look at the average of B, it's going to be 12 inches divided by 3 or 4. Okay? Is there a difference in the means? Yes. I can guarantee you there's a reproducibility issue. Okay? That's a reproducibility issue because the means are different. And then you just have to look at the measurements of A. And the measurements of B. Do they differ inside, within? Yes. Okay, that's a repeatability issue then. So yes, it's going to be both. It's repeatability and reproducibility. Now if I gave you something like this, then what would that be? Just repeatability. Yeah, this is 10-10-1, this is 10-10-1. Okay, there's repeatability, but the averages are the same. Yes?
Can you talk about Deming's formulas?
Won't be on the exam, but if you want me to, I will. That's MVA, right, non-diagonal. 4239.
Hi. I wanted to clarify on one of these questions. It's talking about part variation. If you don't want to identify where to measure the part, does that come from just human error, or what?
No, it's because of the fact that, you're measuring a different spot, so you have, the variation's coming from the part itself, not the measurement system. The gauge R&R is there to measure the measurement system. The part is irrelevant. I don't care if the part's good, bad, or what, I don't give a damn. It's just there to help me measure the measurement system. So there's no table that's perfectly flat. It's gonna be higher at one end, depending on what resolution, how much accuracy you want in it. But there's no such thing as a perfectly flat anything. There's no such thing as a perfectly round disc. You know, it just does not exist. So mark where you want the operator to measure. Like I said, that machine that measured to 2/10,000ths of an inch, it could tell you if there's a sheet of paper on what you measured before. Because a sheet of paper is about 3/1000ths of an inch thick. Oh, that's an easy pickup for that machine. So, yeah, you better be very specific. You can have a very fine point measure right here, because it will pick up any deviation. Has nothing to do with the part. I don't care what the part is. It could be a piece of junk. I don't care. I'm just using it to measure my measurement system. That's what's being measured in the gauge R&R, the measurement system. Yes?
Is the law switch doing the same?
No. That's another NBA. Unless you want it. Show of hands, who wants to know? Put your hand up, quick. Yes?
So for hypothesis testing, will you need to have the data beforehand, or,
Some questions you will.
and will you, have the data
Release it.
beforehand?
Yeah, I'll release it. If you don't see it by 1 o'clock next Wednesday afternoon, text me, someone text me. I think there's a lot of the questions, you'll be able to do just by the summary data in the question itself. But there's like 1 or 2, I believe, that have a data set. There's a few hypothesis test questions on there, all right? So I would go over how to do that in engine room again. Be very comfortable. The data set's there, the practice tests are open, and the data set's still available and everything else, so that's.
Are you still gonna have those at the beginning of the exam? The hypothesis testing questions?
I don't think, no,
Oh, they're scattered.
it'd be scattered through that. Cause they're not worth any more than anything else. Everything's, there's like 43 questions, but there's really 50, because there's the matching questions. Each match is worth 5 points each. So if there's like 4 matches, that question's worth 20 points, but that's, each match is worth 5. So there's 50 possible answers, and, they're worth 5 points each. So they're not worth any more or less than anything. Yes?
Can we go over, what you said, what is done in the 4 stages of improvement of tool makers?
Yeah, there's, there's in the first stage of the changeover process, just establishing a baseline. You know, what is the current process? Step 2 is step 3. There's very little difference. Stage 2 is take anything that can be moved to an external part of the setup, either before or after, and only have the external part in there, and move the external parts out. And only have internal, I should say internal versus external. And then stage 3 is fine tuning that even more. Once you got out, is get everything possible out. And then that's stage 3, so there's very little difference between stage, I'm not gonna ask you the difference between stage 2 and 3, because it's very subtle. I don't see much of a difference between them. And then stage 4 is where you get into basically choreographing and really just shaving off fractions of a second and stuff like that off your time. So that's the final stage. But a lot of it comes from stage 2, where you're defining what's internal and what's external. So internal, it has to be done while whatever the machine or whatever it is, like a Indy racer, when the car stopped, I'm not gonna change the tires when the car's moving, right? I can't do that, okay? But I can have the jack ready, all the nuts and the pneumatic drill and everything, I can have all that set up, ready to go. That would be external. And then I'm ready to go, and I have, everyone has a point, process to do, and they're on point, boom, 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 and they all attack the car at once and do. And so, that gets more into stage 4, where you start choreographing everything else. Setting up a kit where the first thing I need is on top, the last thing I need is at the bottom on this kit. And, so that's more of a stage 4 thing, where you get into Kaizen events where they choreograph the whole changeover. That's where you're trying to shave off seconds off. That's late in fitness. Yes?
Are those 2 videos still?
I don't think so, no. No. For the, oh, is this the?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, this test, yes, I'm sorry. I was thinking of they were for the second test, but yeah. Yes, the Boeing and the, yes. Yes, those are on this test, yes. My bad.
What specifically from this role?
Yeah, so what do we go from?
I told you the Boeing 5S, really pay attention to like the 6 minute to 6 minute 15 second. I can't narrow it down any more than that. And then the other one, just so, it's just a general concept of the whole thing, so, I mean, they repeat it like 4 or 5 times throughout the video, so, I mean, it's a no-brainer. That's the next dimension of quality. Also, remember, if, I'll check when I get back, because I think SCI's closed tonight, I think, or tomorrow. 100% gives you 20 extra credit points. All right? And, I will give, so, I'll give you two questions on the test, all right? So, and don't everyone come down at once, because obviously if there's a minute left and I got a string of 10 people down here, I'm not gonna get, because the test will close at 3:45. But I'll give everyone, I'll go through your test until I see a wrong answer and change it to a correct answer. 2, I'll give you 2. I'll give you 2.
Does it have to be for the time?
No, it doesn't matter. I'll change 2 answers that were wrong to correct.
How lousy do you say the answer is?
I don't take the answers, I'll just change it to a correct answer.
You measure it, that's crazy.
Measurement
I'll
error.
take that. For real. It's gonna be like the first 2 questions.
Yes.
That question was Mark's using or your choosing?
It doesn't matter, does it? It's a question you have marked wrong on the exam, I'm gonna change it to
Oh,
correct,
okay.
and they're all worth 5 points, so. I used to say, give me your 2 questions, and then like 15 and 20, and I'm like, oh, they're both correct, too bad, you're lost. At least you know they're correct, but now I just said, I'll just give you 2 that were marked.
You really want those good SCIs, don't you?
I don't have to do it if you don't want to. I think most people, how many people have not done their
We're
SEI?
like a 95%
Do what? I can't hear you.
Set it on 100.
Like statistically, confidence
I don't know, I haven't even looked, I've been so busy.
There is that.
I can't. All I get is this many out of this many.
Oh, you don't get names?
It's, no, we'll never do that.
Sabe this pasta.
I don't know who it is. I had a former student, he put down something that one of my students from something that just insane, something to the effect that, I don't even remember what it was, I don't know, but in the comment section, I get some weird stuff, I really do. And I told him about it, he put it in there. But, yeah. Trust me, a way to get me to ignore your comments is make it personal. Yeah, whatever. A personal attack, yes. Well, you can criticize, I'll take that to heart, you can criticize, my instruction or anything else, that's fine, that's legitimate, but, I had this person one time tell me, enough of your effing jokes. He spelled it, or he or she, I don't remember, but he or she spelled it out. Sorry. Grow a thicker skin. Don't be a snowflake. Yes. Yes, 2 o'clock, Wednesday, and I think the grades are due the next day, so you'll have your grade by the end of the day. Yes.
So does that 100% SEI include people who've like dropped the class and stuff, or because we
If I
have
see
somebody?
Someone's dropped the class and, they're a part of the thing, I don't.
Because we have somebody on our team who's like
I
dropped,
know,
but
it was a female, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I know who you, I see that they haven't participated since, yeah. So if she's still registered in the course, I don't know who it is, but I know it's a girl. But if she's still registered in the course and she's included in that, I'll take that into consideration. Yes.
You're such a giver. That's so kind.
20 points. No, I've heard other professors, give extra credit for, because a lot of times you just get the extremes. You get people who really like the course and people who really hate the course. And this, sort of gives a more fair representation of the class.
How many semesters do you actually get 100% of people?
Almost all of them.
Really?
I think, probably, I can count on one hand, probably 2 or 3. And 2 of those were MBA teams. Maybe 1 undergraduate. Yeah. Yes?
For the peer evaluation, is there an actual form that we fill out where we
Just use one from the homework.
Okay.
Yeah, just use peer eval for the homework. Same thing.
Do you know what the percentage is right now completed?
No, I haven't looked because I've been, everyone that, the students working on their final report, so I haven't done that. I'm gonna have office hours again from 3 to 5 after this class, just because I got my 6:45 class I still have to teach.